Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another one. As I always say, over and over and over again, please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button, and also share. For those of us that's already subscribed, I want to thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your support, all the advice you give, all the pros and cons that you give. Thank you so much for it. Also, it very well much helps in my growth and development. Well, it's me again. Congratulations to me. I'm on my 10th month of being released after doing 18 years of incarceration in the federal prison. So I'm excited about obviously being released. I'm excited of my progress. Look a little icy. I'm excited about where I'm at right now, the progress I've made. A lot of time I beat myself down and think that I'm not making much progress, but nonetheless, I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty well. Congratulations to me. I finally paid off my fine, which was a hefty fine. I finally made the final last payment, and I'm at zero right now, so I don't owe the government anything. That's a tremendous feeling to have to complete that and fulfill my obligation in that. I'm feeling real good, man. From where I came from to where I'm at now, words cannot describe how I feel. As I always said, this is a new life for me. Living life this way is extremely new for me. It's foreign territory, is something I haven't experienced my whole life. So, I have my moments where kind of a little undecisive, not sure at times, but the one thing that I am practicing is staying the course and trusting the process. I gotta trust something. When I was in a life of crime, I put my whole heart, soul, and being and trust into that world. So I'm just trying to transfer that same energy over into this world, which is the world of doing what's right, doing things the right way, and pretty much living the life of a righteous life. As I said, where I came from, when I was incarcerated and I was found guilty and then later on sentenced to 20 years in prison, I can remember clearly now, pacing back and forth in that holding cell after I was sentenced, and they kind of took me back to the holding cell to do some paperwork and then transport me back to the jail. I was kind of pacing back and forth and just wondering, like, okay, what's next? Where do I go from here? How do I get through this? How do I get through doing 20 years of incarceration? Mine is still a good time, but, in my mind, I'm just looking at doing 20 years, period. How do I get through this? I didn't have the answers right then and there, obviously, and so I went back to my living quarters, kind of processed things and said, damn, man, this is crazy, that I'm going to have to spend the next 2 decades of my life in prison. That's a heavy pill to swallow, if you will. That's not something that, you can take lightly and something that you can just brush off your shoulders. Now, you can pretend in front of the guys, you can pretend in front of men that's out there amongst you to act as though you're tough and you can handle it. But when you lay down at night and you got to face yourself and you got to look at the real you, then you got to answer those hard questions, man. How do I get through this? How does my family get through this? Because a lot of times when we doing time, we don't think that our families are suffering behind this. But I got to tell you, as you know, as time went on, I started to understand how family is affected by us being away from them, us not being in their presence daily, us not being around them to give maybe a jewel that can possibly help them get through whatever they suffer from. So it's not just about, you particularly suffering, although it is about that, but family members suffer, man. Loved ones that really love you and can't have you right there to just hug and say, I love you. That's painful, man. I mean, I'm being serious. That's painful, man. And it was painful for me, man, to walk around the institutions and think about, damn, man, there's got to be more to this than just being incarcerated like this. This can't just be what life is about. Although when I was in the street, I believed that, hey, man, jail comes with it. So what? You get locked up, you do your time. That's it. But this can't be all that life is about, man. Life has to be more than this. Otherwise, what kind of God we dealing with, man? Like, that he would just create all this, create us, and then just for this to just be incarcerated? I think not. So it's a testament and a reflection of our thinking, that causes us to go through hardship and hard pain and heartache, as I did. So I started my bid out in California, which was, it wasn't so good because I'm outside of my element. We talking about over 3,000 miles away from my element where I'm from. So it was different, man. But the one thing that it allowed me to do is to put things in perspective, to really look at life and say, man, I didn't make so good decisions. I dropped the ball on this. I could have did better in those areas. I could have handled this a little better. Because one thing about prison, whether you want to agree with it or not, whether you want to be tough and act like you don't want to look at it, but you're forced to look at yourself and say, man, I messed up, man. I dropped the ball. It's kind of my fault that I'm in here. I played a part in being incarcerated right now. And I have to be the one to fix it, to work towards fixing it. So that's what I had to come to terms with, and I went into the process of doing that. Now going into the process of doing that doesn't mean that I just overnight became a saint. No, it means that I started to work against all the temptations that I was facing to try to become a better person, a better man. And it was a tough job. And plenty of nights that I'm out here now, I look at the time and I think, well, damn, man, it's 8:30. I wonder what they doing right now. They kind of getting ready for lockdown. They kind of getting they ice, making sure they got their snacks for the night, going to the store, man, getting their snack. So all these different things that I do think about. I'm not going to act as though I don't think about it. I do think about them. And what that does is it helps to keep me on that straight path, to never forget. Because the minute you forget is the minute that you can slip up. And then that's the minute that your behind is going back. And it's not a pretty sight when you go back, that you worked all these months, even all these years to try to get better. And then you made a U-turn back to the thing that caused you so much heartache and so much heart pain. I mean, it doesn't make much sense to me. So I'm happy where I'm at. As I said before, I took up a trade in the HVAC, air conditioning trade. I'm learning so much each and every day. The job, especially in the summer months, is very busy. you know, it's a lot harder work. You know, you're going to have to grind a lot more. And I'm just learning to trust the process and make the sacrifice for something better in the future. You know, of course, I would love to have all the finer things in life, the fashion, the cars, and all that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna act as though I don't want that. I do want it. You know, and I'm supposed to have it, and I can achieve it. But I have to trust the process and make the sacrifice that I can't get these things right, just not right now. I gotta kind of build, go through the process, go through the grind, go through the pain, and then later on, I can have all those things, man. So, I'm just saying this to those of us that doesn't understand mentally incarceration. It's a very, very trying thing. And I believe that just as much as they have post-traumatic syndrome for people that come from the service, they should have a post-traumatic syndrome for people that's coming from incarceration, because that can beat you down mentally. There's people that commit suicide in there. There's people that goes on a suicide mission. There's people that loses loved ones. There's people that loved ones walk away from them. There's all manner of things that happens in there that can mentally unbalance a person's mind, that can put him, pretty much in a savage state of mind. And, I'm hoping that these words that I'm constantly getting on here and sharing would be some words to enlighten each and every one of the mental strain, the mental transformation, the mental adjustment of being out here as opposed to being in there, how hard it can be on an individual that's just coming out into the free world after being gone for decades at a time. That's not an easy thing. People may oftentimes look at me as I'm burnt out, I'm stuck in my way, I'm maybe even institutionalized, and I'm okay with that. I'm making adjustments slowly but surely. I'm getting better, obviously, with the technology, because I'm always trying to learn. I'm always asking, how do you do this? What does this mean? What does that mean? Or where do I put this at? So I'm constantly learning. So I'm enjoying it. I'm growing and I'm learning. It's a process, but nonetheless, I'm sticking to the process and I'm trusting the process. Rest assured, I do have my days where kind of uncertain and like, damn, man, this is like tough. But going through tough times, man, can really produce a diamond. So I'm happy to share these few words. As I said, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. It definitely helps in the platform. And, share also with those. Hit the like button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified of when we drop different material. We got a lot coming down the pipeline. I'm telling you, just ride it out with me. I'm pretty sure something I said can touch you, to even shed light on what it is a person might be going through that's just released from incarceration. But we got so many things coming down the pipeline that I want to share. I can't give it all at one time, and that'll be injustice to myself and to you as well. So just be patient with us. We got so much coming down the pipeline. Stick it out. Come on home and subscribe and be part of the family. And as I'm going to leave you, as I always do, and this is very important to myself, and I hope it's important to you, but I'm going to leave you as I always can. Remember, your potential for greatness is truly unlimited.